Could the Jasmy bull run be something special? In my opinion, hypothetically, yes, because a dollar ultimately is still what I believe Jasmy could maybe reach during a fully fledged bull run. And again, even though nothing I say is financial advice, the way to take a look at it is that I don't see why Jasmy won't do bad, especially, let's say, as Bitcoin reaches that next leg up of 200,000 and maybe 250,000, and who knows, maybe even beyond. The reason is because historically, we've seen Jasmy, do well when the market did do pretty good. We've seen that. Now, historical performance doesn't necessarily guarantee future performance in the same way, but the way to take a look at it is that seeing Jasmy have a pretty okay recovery as of right now, that's a very good sign. Some other altcoins out there, they're still lagging behind, but this one showcased that, when there's attention to the market, when there's more volume, some of it has been known to flow into this somewhat. And I do really like this when it comes to Jasmy. It shows that it's not a project that's, kind of disappearing, really. It's not that. And I think it really does have a bright future. Some people seem to think that a dollar is kind of crazy because that is currently, even despite the price recovery a little bit, that's still around a 60x from here. But I don't see why not, because the way to take a look at it is that Jasmy represents a very special project. Jasmy, after all, is focused on something called data democracy. Now, that's a very fancy way of saying how it's focused on decentralizing data storage. Now, when we take a look at decentralizing data storage, I get it. Data storage, it's a little bit boring. I'll give it that. Even though I'm a fan of it, I'm just not going to say that, hey, you know what, it's more flashy than AI or blockchain gaming. It's not, right? But then it's still a good market. And even if we take a look at it, the global data storage market size is predicted to reach nearly $800 billion by 2030, according to Fortune Business Insights. Now, let's put some perspective into this. I think arguably the markets of DeFi and as well as NFTs, blockchain gaming, again, I think those markets do have more hype. But let's take a look at the numbers. Like, for instance, both the NFT and DeFi market, each individually, according to Granby Research, yet again, by 2030, they predict those two markets to each individually again be worth over $200 billion. So that's combined over $400 billion. That's still approximately 50% of what the data storage market could maybe be worth by 2030, according to Fortune Business Insights. So again, should data storage have more hype and attention? Probably not in the grand scheme of things when compared to NFTs and DeFi, but maybe it kind of should in a sense, because just take a look at how massive the market could be. Not to mention, the blockchain gaming market is predicted to be worth, over $300 billion by 2030, according to Granby Research. Again, that's nowhere close as to what the data storage market could hypothetically be by that year as well. So the way you take a look at it is that it's very underrated, really. And I've noticed that, people, they usually move in trends. They like this project, they like this sector, they like this market, they move, they change, right? So then when it comes to something like data storage, I don't see why it won't gain a lot of hypothetical hype during a fully fledged bull run. Now, we also have to take a look at what is Jasmy trying to do quite essentially to the data storage market, because some people may be thinking, okay, it's trying to decentralize it. Why does that even matter? Like, a lot of data storage solutions nowadays, they're highly centralized. Who cares? It's working. And I'll agree, it is working, and some people might not care, but the way you take a look at it is that it doesn't necessarily mean that it can't be improved, because through decentralizing data storage, typically there's going to be reduced a number of, single points of failures, like what we could very well see with centralized data storage. And as we all know, let's say the more decentralized something is, the less susceptible it is to potential and hypothetical hacks and maybe, breaches. So that's a good thing. Also, some people with centralized data storage, they don't really want to have sometimes, in some cases, a single entity kind of like controlling their data. So when I take a look at decentralization, it could maybe bring benefits. Only time will tell, because mass scale adoption hasn't happened to these type of projects yet. But we'll have to wait and see. But I do like the concept. I can't necessarily guarantee it's going to be, an A+ type of performance. But again, I do like the concept. And I think this is kind of what matters during a fully fledged bull run, because people typically, from what I've noticed, they usually care about what something could be. They care about the narrative, they care about the story, they care about the news. They don't really care about current adoption. Like, if every single thing was based off current adoption, Jasmy wouldn't really have much attention, but it does, right? Even though it doesn't have the best current adoption of all time. This is something that I think won't be a hindering factor when it comes to Jasmy during a fully fledged bull run, like in terms of its adoption. Like, I don't think people really care about that. They typically care about the community. But you know what? Jasmy has that covered. It's very passionate. It's very driven, the community. So again, it has that covered. Not to mention, people care about exchange listings. Jasmy has that covered too. Not to mention as well, Jasmy has a clear and set direction. And those are kind of basically like the top 3 things people care about. So Jasmy has pretty much ticked all the boxes, in my opinion. Not to mention, Jasmy has a good perceived leadership. I'm not a part of the Jasmy team, so I can't necessarily say, oh, the leadership is A+. But on paper, at least from what I observe, I would assume it's good because many of the Jasmy team members, they used to work at places like Sony. And Sony is very amazing, of course. So the way you take a look at it is that this is very wonderful. Not to mention, when I take a look at Jasmy, it's allegedly the first ever legally compliant cryptocurrency in the country of Japan. And I love Japan. Like, for instance, take a look at my G-Shock. But yeah, besides that point, it's a very nice watch, in my opinion. But besides that point again, Jasmy being able to achieve that in Japan, that's very amazing, in my opinion. And Jasmy's achievement to many people out there, like, again, becoming the first ever legally compliant cryptocurrency in Japan, like, people value that so much that they even give Jasmy the nickname of the Bitcoin of Japan. It's not actually Bitcoin, of course, we all know that, but I'm just saying, like, that's the nickname, So the way to take a look at it is that when it comes to something like Jasmy, it's very wonderful. Now it just needs to wait for a fully fledged bull run and has all the right pieces in place. It just needs to wait for liftoff. And the way you take a look at it is that, especially seeing the markets head in which they are heading as of right now, especially Bitcoin has that next leg up, starts doing a lot better, especially entering, let's say, Q4 of this year, which I get, it may seem like quite a while, but I'm just saying, let's say it does that. Maybe the sky could be the limit. Let's say Bitcoin goes to 150,000, 200,000, 250,000, maybe even 300,000. Could be very special times, I think, potentially ahead and hypothetically for something like Jasmy. And keep in mind, we currently have over 600 million crypto owners, according to Crypto.com research, and we have never ever seen Bitcoin reach the price of $150,000 yet. So what would the amount of crypto owners be if Bitcoin was at 200,000, 250,000, again, maybe even more? Would there be 700 million, maybe even over 800 million? Who knows? Only time will tell, but considering the trajectory, it wouldn't surprise me because back in the peak of the 2021 bull run, around 300 million crypto owners, I just kind of feel like, wow, this time around it could be so special. There's going to be the end to the bull run, but it just doesn't feel like this is the end to the bull run just yet. I still believe in Jasmy. I think better days are ahead. And $1, if it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply around a $50 billion market cap, how is that too much, really? I mean, we've seen Dogecoin exceed over $80 billion in market cap back in 2021. We've seen Shiba Inu reach around 40. I don't think this is too much to ask for. And I'm just going to stay patient because that's the only thing I can control. The market is going to wake up when it wants to wake up. Doesn't matter if I pull up a price chart, draw some random triangles, if I draw, Mickey Mouse or SpongeBob. It's not going to do anything. Sometimes people like to ask me, why don't you pull up the price chart and draw some random triangles? You think the market's going to care whatever I draw on a price chart? No, it doesn't care. It's still going to do what it's going to do. It's going to want to wake up, or should I say it's going to want to wake up when it wants to. Like, I can't, draw a random triangle and be like, oh yeah, man, this is the time. No, the only thing I can control is myself, right? Accumulate, hold, and I just wait. That's it. Because again, it's just a waiting game. And I'm going to wait. I'm going to stay patient in $1. That's my price target for this board. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.